The Texas oil spill disaster becomes even more critical, endangering both shipping and the environment. And thousands of Israelis take to the streets to protest the Tel Aviv bus bombing. This is the CBS Evening News. And this is Bob Schieffer reporting good evening. After floods and ruptured underground gasoline lines which set off floating fire pools in rivers already overflowing their banks, there seemed no way things could get any worse in Houston. Well, they got worse. Last night, another pipe burst and sent crude oil pouring into the mess, threatening a major environmental disaster along the ship channel from Houston to Galveston. Scott Pelley has been on the scene all week and has our report.
Today, environmental damage from flood and fire rolled down the San Jacinto River, threatening delicate Galveston Bay. At least 5 damaged pipelines are dumping gasoline, jet fuel, and oil into slicks up to 20 miles long.
We had a dramatic turn for the worse. I'm not going to lie to you, it's a heavy impact. There are large pools of floating black oil out there. It's back in the trees. It's back in the houses that were flooded by the high waters out there. A lot of nasty stuff.
The oil's now moving toward Galveston Bay, which is highly prized as a nursing habitat for fish and birds. Cleanup crews working to intercept the oil are hampered by floodwaters, but officials are still optimistic.
I am really hopeful that we'll collect a lot of oil out there today and that we'll see a significant improvement in the next 24 hours.
Today, there are several factors working in their favor. The fire is burning off most of the oil. The oil that is escaping is of a type that tends to evaporate easily, and the swiftly moving water is diluting the pollution. Galveston Bay is often threatened by major spills. One of the biggest, the mega Borg ship disaster in 1990, dumped 5 million gallons of oil, but most of it burned or evaporated. Little hit the beach. Now, this disaster has closed what is perhaps the nation's most important center for shipping chemicals and energy. All traffic has stopped on the Houston Ship Channel. An incredible amount of debris is blocking navigation.
Just about everything that has come down the San Jacinto River, from pieces of houses to whole houses to trailers to cars.
No one is willing to guess how long it will take to clean it all up. It may be days before the floodwaters recede enough to allow an accurate survey of the destruction. Scott Pelley, CBS News, Houston.
And overseas in Tel Aviv tonight, Israelis poured into the streets to protest Wednesday's suicide bombing by an Arab terrorist group that left 21 people dead. CBS News correspondent Bob Simon has that story.
Israel's right wing took over Dizengoff Street tonight with the aim of tearing apart the peace process just as definitively as Wednesday's bomb tore apart that bus. They burned the Palestinian flag. They shouted, "Death to the Arabs." But their sharpest abuse was reserved for Prime Minister Rabin. The very mention of his name unleashed a tirade. The sign read, "Rabin is lying, Jews are dying, God is crying." If violence in the Middle East is politically motivated, it always serves as a pretext for more politics. These people didn't change their minds because of the bombing. They made up their minds a long time ago. Peace means giving up part of the land of Israel. It is therefore a sacrilege, and there's no difference between the Palestinians who make peace and those who blow up buses.
There is no difference between Arafat and Hamas. This is the major mistake and lie of our government.
The right-wingers blocked off Dizengoff Street to all traffic. They'd like to block the way to the peacemakers. And if all these Israelis have it in for Prime Minister Rabin, King Hussein was having a rough time today with the Palestinians. They burned his portrait today in Jerusalem. That's because the treaty to be signed on Wednesday assures the king a special role as guardian of Jerusalem's Muslim holy places. The Palestinians see the city as their future capital. Yasser Arafat called the treaty an outrageous infringement of the deal he made with Israel. At today's meeting of his cabinet in Gaza, Arafat ordered his foreign affairs chief to boycott Wednesday's signing ceremony. But despite the PLO boycott, despite the demonstrations in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv, the ceremony will take place. And that's because, however loud their voices, however many their numbers, these people, the people opposed to peace, are still a very small minority. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
President Clinton heads for the Middle East on Tuesday after several weeks in which foreign policy has taken more and more of his attention. Our White House correspondent Rita Braver now has more on that.
On the West Coast this weekend, stumping for Democratic candidates in the November elections, President Clinton is concentrating on domestic issues. Still, he got in a plug for one of his recent foreign policy successes, the departure of Haiti's military dictators.
I think all Americans have been very moved, I know I certainly have, by the sight of the Haitian people getting their freedom back.
And Haiti is just one in a string of foreign affairs achievements that has surprised even some Clinton supporters. Yesterday in Geneva, North Korean and U.S. negotiators signed an agreement that commits North Korea to freeze and dismantle its nuclear program. And last week, Iraq moved its troops back from Kuwait's border after the U.S. threatened military action. It wasn't always like this.
Not even a year ago, there were lots of criticisms of you and your colleagues on the foreign policy team, with people suggesting that the group was inept.
Well, I think they were wrong when they said it then. And I think the events of the past several weeks tend to suggest that. We inherited a very disorderly world.
Administration officials say the president has kept his eye on the big picture.
A lot of these things are the accumulation of 2 years of hard work, trying to fashion the national security of the United States and advance the economic interests of the United States and advance democracy in the post-Cold War world.
There has been some criticism that the president gave too much away to diffuse crises. Charges that the North Korean agreement allows for too long a delay before inspections and that the Haitian junta was treated too leniently. In addition, the administration's efforts to decrease violence in Bosnia have made little headway. And a former Bush administration Secretary of State cautions that foreign policy gains can be fleeting.
This week's foreign policy success can be next month's foreign policy disaster if you're not careful.
Officials here are well aware of that possibility, especially as the president heads off to the volatile Middle East next week. But for now, the administration is savoring Bill Clinton's foreign policy victories. Rita Braver, CBS News at the White House.
And still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, the election campaigns that pit yes against no, a guide to all those ballot questions. And play ball, it's opening day of the series, the Japan series.
I used to think lotions are just lotions. What's the difference? Not anymore. Jergens has created 6 different ways to moisturize your skin. One was made just for me.
Ultra Healing is for me. My skin is so dry, I need fast, long-lasting relief.
All my skin really needs is light care with aloe. It absorbs quickly and it keeps my skin healthy looking.
And me, I use Dual Healing Cream because I need something extra to help heal my rough, dry spots. So what's the Jergens difference? Now you can choose skincare that's right for you.
Over the last few years, a lot of people have seen their investments drop in value. Unfortunately, that's life. Our annuities have held their value and consistently paid higher rates than CDs. That's New York Life. New York Life, the company you keep.
The new Easy Spirit. Inside, there's a walking shoe. Outside, there's a whole world.
Imagine a rent-a-car company that will pick you up right at your door. That's Enterprise. Call us. We'll arrange to come to you, take you back to our office, and you're on your way. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
While campaigning today in California, President Clinton went to a high school to sign an executive order requiring schools to expel students who bring guns to class. The president said that funds would be cut off to states that don't force school districts to comply with that order. California's debate over an anti-illegal immigration proposal is hotter than ever. Senator Dianne Feinstein has now declared her opposition, and challenger Michael Huffington has voted his support. Proposition 187 is just one of dozens of ballot initiatives around the country this year. Sandra Hughes has our report on that.
From cutting off education and other benefits for illegal immigrants in California.
So on this letter, this is practice for that test we're going to take next week.
To the denial of equal rights for gays in Idaho and Oregon.
The fight is on.
In these states and 19 others, the people are taking government into their own hands this election season through ballot initiatives, proposed laws written directly by citizens or special interest groups without the intervention of legislators. And now voters have to figure it out.
Half the time I don't even know what I'm voting for.
Across the country, that may be a familiar sentiment. 78 citizens' initiatives, the most in more than half a century, will fill ballots. Whether the motivation is conservatives trying to bypass a Democratic power structure or frustration with Washington gridlock, the result is often poorly written initiatives. Estimates are half are modified or overturned by judges.
It's a sort of paradox that this popular institution of the people frequently ends up in the hands of the least popular institution, the Supreme Court of California, or even the Supreme Court of the United States.
And now some traditional initiative targets, big corporations, are using the process themselves. In California, there is a proposition on a statewide smoking restriction. It's being sponsored not by anti-smokers, but tobacco giant Philip Morris, and it could loosen existing laws.
I think the initiative process has sort of turned the democratic process on its head.
Even staunch initiative advocates agree that reform is necessary, especially on issues like abortion and gay rights.
We cannot legislate morals by just saying certain sexual behavior shall be permitted and certain shall not be. I mean, it's contrary to the Constitution.
But it's not contrary to those who are trying to shape policy on their own. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Los Angeles.
In Washington, the focus of attention this weekend is the Brazilian embassy, where Princess Diana is visiting unofficially with the Brazilian ambassador's wife. Today, she ventured out for lunch with Hillary Rodham Clinton and other guests at the British embassy.
Discover something new for regularity. Always made with the highest quality natural fiber. Recommended by doctors 2-to-1 over any other brand. It's called Metamucil. So what's new?
The price.
You still get all the effectiveness you expect from Metamucil, but now at a surprisingly lower price.
I didn't think they could make Metamucil better, but they did.
Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity. At a new lower price.
You know, a Carnival cruise is the best vacation value going. You can enjoy fun days at sea, fun-filled nights, fabulous food.
Oh, boy, you can say that again.
Great Scott, Willard, what are you doing out here?
Kathy, I'm having the time of my life.
Take a 3-, 4-, or 7-day vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Boy, I can't wait until the midnight buffet.
You think you'll have any room left?
What are you, a comic?
You get older, and your body starts to feel it. You get smarter, and you know the difference between pain relievers. That's why you get Bayer, the wonder drug, not Tylenol. Both relieve pain, but Bayer aspirin does something Tylenol can't. Only Bayer relieves the inflammation of arthritis when taken regularly. Just ask your doctor. You get older, you get smarter, you get Bayer.
I'm Charles Osgood. Mortal enemies prospering together, Oregon's timber industry and wildlife preservation. We'll see how these rivals coexist this Sunday morning.
Aides confirmed today that Senator Edward Kennedy has taken out a $2 million loan on his Virginia home in order to buy more television commercials for the final weeks of his re-election campaign. Kennedy has avoided serious opposition in the past, but is in a close race this year with Republican businessman Mitt Romney. As we saw a little earlier in the broadcast, the president was out campaigning today. Some Democrats are not so sure that will help. Some even think it might hurt. It has been a long time since Democrats have felt worse about their chances in an election year. And that's where we turn now for our Washington notebook, the midterms. Can Democrats stop a Republican romp?
A presidential welcome hearing.
The party that holds the White House almost always loses seats in Congress during midterm elections. But this year, even nonpartisan analysts are telling Democrats they have one shot at avoiding disaster.
If you don't energize the party base as much as you can, as fast as you can, you're going to get completely pasted on Election Day.
So that's the focus, cajoling women, blacks, Hispanics, the Democratic stalwarts to vote on November 8th.
Those people are despondent. They're very disillusioned. And polls are telling us right now that they're unlikely to turn out in nearly the normal numbers.
To get them out, the president is taking a page from Ronald Reagan's old campaign book. Mr. Reagan won re-election in a landslide, but we often forget that 2 years into his first term, unemployment had skyrocketed, and his popularity was lower than Mr. Clinton's current rating. Mr. Reagan hit the hustings anyway, and even though Republicans lost 26 House seats, both sides agreed it would have been worse if Mr. Reagan had stayed home. Mr. Clinton's people hope he can do the same now for Democrats.
We certainly look at 1982 as an example of what can happen when the president goes out and uses the bully pulpit to define a message.
The president's partisans also believe it will help the president.
I think that he'll raise his numbers, and I think that will help candidates running on the Democratic ticket all over this country.
Even so, if Democrats could get away with it, they'd paint this year's elections as a series of unrelated local contests.
We don't think these are going to be national elections. We think that basically they're going to be local, state by state, district by district, governor by governor.
Not if the Republicans have anything to do with it. When their House candidates came to Washington and signed their highly publicized Contract with America, a collection of promises they vow to keep if their party becomes a majority, they were doing their best to show the elections are connected and that they should be a referendum on the Clinton administration. The Democrats say it will backfire.
But it's really an echo of a failed past.
So far, the professional politicians seem to be taking the contract more seriously than voters. A recent survey says 70% had never even heard of it.
No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
No, honestly, I didn't.
But whatever voters finally conclude about the Republican contract, the latest polling numbers make it a scary time for Democrats. 70 races for House seats are considered too close to call, and 53 of those are held by Democrats. So Democrats know that for them, it's going to be uphill from here on in.
Turnout in off-year elections is more of a problem for Democrats anyway. To win these seats, we clearly have to get turnout up.
However it comes out, as the president joked this week, the Democrats have at least been careful not to peak too soon.
Fruit and Fiber has a great new taste, and we just can't keep it under wraps.
I got a great new taste.
Now with crispy multigrain flakes.
I got a great new taste.
More raisins, more walnuts, more dates.
Got a lot of great new taste.
And oat clusters with a touch of brown sugar.
Oh yeah, I got a great new taste.
A new taste so delicious, it shows. The new Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. It's fruit and fiber.
And a great new taste.
Day 5, my private island. If there's something better, I haven't found it. Today we were greeted by a goddess as we visited Royal Caribbean's private island. We returned to the ship about 4 p.m. I saw the captain on his daily walking tour. Tonight I'll return to my cabin, relive today and dream about tomorrow. Sweet dreams.
You've got some Royal Caribbean coming.
For a touch of arthritis pain, my husband takes Advil. Doctors recommend Advil most for minor arthritis pain, and it's gentler on his stomach than aspirin. He says Advil lets him get back to doing what he loves. Nothing's been proven to last longer than Advil.
The classic Airstream, around $5,000. The classic Bic, around 19 cents. What do they have in common? They're both worth every penny.
What does this man have against President Clinton? Will Newt Gingrich be the next Speaker of the House? And what's his vision for the Republican Party? Newt Gingrich faces the nation Sunday.
The Vatican said tonight that Pope John Paul II stayed away from a special mass at St. Peter's for health reasons. Vatican Radio said the Pope is still recovering from last April's surgery and is also busy with the current Synod of Bishops. St. Peter's Square was the scene today of a protest perhaps unprecedented in church history. Alan Pizzi has a report on that.
We shall not be silenced.
It was an event so rare no one could remember when or even if it had ever happened before. 4 American nuns and some friends unfurled banners in St. Peter's Square to demand greater rights for women in the church.
We are walking with and ministering with the younger women who say that this church is not the kind of church they want to be part of in the future.
And this isn't the kind of thing the police want now. The Carabinieri are on Vatican turf to ensure no one shoots the Pope again. Nuns with protest banners aren't what they're trained to handle.
We are part of a women's movement, even in the Vatican.
Be that as it may, the banners had to be furled.
Madonna, put it all up. Put it away.
The nuns chose their venue deliberately. The Synod of Bishops, the male hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church, is meeting here to map out the future of religious life. But a greater role for women isn't on their agenda. In a just-published book that is expected to become one of the all-time bestsellers, Pope John Paul II sets out his position on women. And what is clear is that they will not be priests. Sister Margaret Traxler marched with Martin Luther King at Selma. She's been a nun for 50 years.
I must say, I don't think they get it. They simply are not getting it. Half this world is women, and it's the vaulting male ego which wants to keep control. They will not share.
One third world bishop said that women's issues were only an American concern. In answer to that, one protesting nun quoted from the Gospel according to St. Luke, "Woe unto you who cannot read the signs of the times." Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Rome.
Rosario Ames has begun serving a 5-year, 3-month prison sentence for helping her husband Aldrich Ames spy for Moscow. The Ames case has focused new attention on the changing world of espionage since the Cold War, and nowhere has the change happened more quickly or more differently than in Russia. Jonathan Sanders has our report.
Moscow this week mourned an investigative reporter. Many bidding farewell to 27-year-old Dmitry Kholodov said the counterintelligence service, part of the reorganized KGB, killed him. Russian spies supposedly blew up Dmitry to stop his accounts of how the Russian army's top brass was getting rich selling off weapons. In the New Russia, says Dmitry's editor, our spies are after Russians, not you Americans. Reformers made the toppling of the KGB a priority. The organization was divided, but it's still a threat.
This organization, though different, though weakened, dismantled in many ways, still is not on the side of democracy.
Slashed budgets forced many KGB operatives out of work and away from the perks and prestige of Lubyanka, the once dreaded secret police headquarters.
The best and the brightest have definitely left the KGB to work for private companies, private banks in Russia. So they keep on spying, but for these private companies, and basically it's industrial espionage.
Prospects for espionage have improved at one place, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. It's more than better electronics. Russian woes created a CIA dreamland. Dollars make millions of people here potential recruits. So Russian intelligence is preoccupied with Russians spying for the U.S. Army officers, weapons builders, diplomats, even men at the spy agency itself often have tiny salaries and families to feed. The CIA is a source for them. It makes the new KGB all the more desperate. The secret world of spies is said to be eternal, only the targets change. Americans may be less at risk. Russian spies now threaten Russians. Jonathan Sanders, CBS News, Moscow.
Entertainer Martha Raye was buried today with full military honors at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home of the Green Berets. Normally, only soldiers are buried at the post, but an exception was made for Martha Raye, who entertained U.S. soldiers for decades. She died Wednesday at the age of 78.
Time to get up.
Wake up to Folgers Decaffeinated. It's not just a great decaffeinated, it's a great coffee. with all the mountain-grown aroma and taste of regular Folgers. In fact, if you didn't know it was decaffeinated...
Coffee? I was thinking maybe we should start drinking decaffeinated coffee.
Decaffeinated? But how could a decaffeinator wake me up like this stuff?
Best part of waking up.
Even decaffeinated.
It's Folgers in your cup.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung.
Discover fat-free Promise Ultra. 0 fat with just 5 delicious calories a serving.
And every time I see you grin,
It's the first fat-free margarine. Definitely one of a kind.
You make me feel so young.
Regular or fat-free Promise Ultra. Get heart smart.
Rescue me. I'm shivering.
Help is on the way. Just call a Bryant dealer to the rescue and get the Plus 90i. It's the most energy-efficient gas furnace you can buy, and only your Bryant dealer has it. So call Bryant to the rescue.
Come on, Bryant, and rescue me. Rescue me.
Finally tonight, if this were a normal sports year, the World Series would be opening tonight. But since this isn't a normal year, the only championship baseball battle you'll find this October is the one that's being opened tonight between the Central and Pacific Leagues in Japan. James Satori has our report.
It's the long-awaited Fall Classic, a showdown of the best in baseball. But this is Tokyo, the only place diehard fans can get a fix this year, even if it is the Seibu Lions and the Yomiuri Giants.
I grew up in San Francisco, and I've always wanted to see the Giants in the World Series. The last time I tried, there was an earthquake, so now I get to see the Giants in the World Series.
This year's matchup is a case of dueling dynasties. The Giants, who've won 18 series, are revered in Japan. The Lions have clinched 8 titles, including 3 of the last 4. There's so much anticipation, some fans are already lining up outside for tomorrow's game. First, we had to wait overnight to get tickets, he says. Now we're waiting to get seats. Back in the U.S., there's no waiting, no crowds, no fun.
I'm afraid a lot of the fans in the States have forgotten baseball, and they have just tuned it out completely. I still love the game, but I think the labor problems in the States have really taken away a lot of the enjoyment I have for the game.
Americans may think Japanese teams take advantage of their players, who earn 1/3 the money and work much harder compared to their major league counterparts.
But from a fan's perspective, I really think it's baseball for baseball's sake. The money is not the overriding issue that it is in the States.
This year's opening game was a shutout. The Lions over the Giants 11-zip. Will it be a replay of 1990 when the Giants were blown out in 4 straight games? Japanese fans will be reveling in the suspense. James Hattori, CBS News, Tokyo.
And that's the news. Tomorrow on Sunday Morning with Charles Osgood, jazz trumpeter John Faddis. Then on Face the Nation, we'll talk about the election campaign with the House Republican whip, Newt Gingrich. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
Experience CBS News.
If there's one man Saddam Hussein doesn't want to cross swords with again, it's Ben Rich. Who is Ben Rich? 60 Minutes, Sunday. This is CBS.